Hello, guys, and we got some bombshell testimony news for you. Just like Gary Wang, who slapped Sam Bankman-Fried with his wang, his ex-girlfriend Carolyn Ellison has completely sunk him. If he thought he could get away from Gary Wang's wang, he could not get away from Carolyn Ellison and her testimony, because she had access to everything, including Sam, and she told everything. So they questioned her just like they questioned Gary Wang. It's all over social media and reports. So here was part of the transcript of the questions. Question: when you were working at Almeida, did you commit any crimes? Answer: yes, we did. Admission right there. When you say we, who do you mean we? I mean Sam, I, and others, like Gary Wang and the chief CTO. What kind of crimes did you commit with Sam? Fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and money laundering. Lots and lots of money laundering. Who did you defraud? The customers of FTX, the investors of FTX, and the lenders of Almeida. And just to be clear, did you commit these crimes alone? No, they were committed with Sam. In fact, Sam directed me to commit them. Question: what are some of the ways that Almeida was able to steal customer money? Answer: we had access to an essentially unlimited line of credit on FTX, and we received FTX customer funds directly in our bank accounts as part of FTX fiat deposit system. So basically, Almeida Research was able to borrow as much money, some would say infinite money, from FTX, and that's why FTX had a big hole. And of course, they lost all of it because, they kind of leveraged without having stop losses, so $8 billion even gets liquidated pretty darn fast when you do that. That's another clue. Don't leverage trade, folks. And what was the defendant's role in taking that money and spending it in Almeida? He was the one who set up the systems and allowed Almeida to take the money, and he was the one who directed us to take customer money to repay our loans. He is referring to, obviously, SBF, the head honcho. You said you defrauded Almeida's lenders with the defendant. How did you defraud Almeida's lenders? I sent sheets to our lenders at the direction of Sam that incorrectly stated the amount of assets and our liabilities that made Almeida's balance sheet look less risky than it actually was. So obviously she didn't really tell the truth about how risky it all was. So the thing is with this is like she did not actually try to deflect blame on herself. She took blame for her actions, but she did blame the main culprit is Sam Bankman-Fried, just like Gary Wang. So Sam Bankman-Fried is completely sunk on all his reasoning, and there is absolutely nothing he can do to actually recover himself right now. He is so toxic. And furthermore, he asked, how much did you defraud Almeida customers? And she said $10 billion. I think in total it was $14 billion. So billions upon billions upon billions of dollars defrauding. And some fun facts for asking questions at the trial. They asked her, did your relationship with Sam Bankman-Fried stay as a business relationship? She said, no. We started sleeping together about a year into it, and he was bad in bed. But I still love you, Sam Bankman-Fried. Please forgive me for putting you in jail for 15 years. I don't think Sam Bankman-Fried loves her anymore. I don't think he likes Gary Wang either, and I don't think he's going to like Nishad, because all of them have testified directly against SBF. And I think there are more testimonies to come. So it's going to be his word against all of theirs. Plus, they have all the receipts and they have all the documentation evidence, so he has nowhere to run right now. So I think their main goal for the defense was to actually turn this around and try to blame everything on Carolyn Ellison, and she knew about it, so she struck first. And of course, her testimony corroborates really well with Gary Wang's, and I do believe Nishad's testimony, because he wanted a plea deal too, is going to corroborate with both of those. So Sam Bankman-Fried has zero chance at this point. So they both pointed to Sam Bankman-Fried as the main guy. They told step by step how they actually defrauded it. They have the documents and everything else. Now, they're obviously doing this for a plea deal. I believe that the only charge that these two, Gary Wang and Carolyn Ellison, are getting are basically tax fraud. So they're probably going to get like 2 or 3 years in jail and then get out on probation. Whereas SBF is going to get like probably 10, 15 years in jail, maybe like 10 without parole or something like that. And he's not going to be faring very well on that. So that's very interesting. And I think it's incredibly cool that we actually get to hear some of these transcripts. Some of you might be wondering, why isn't this trial being televised live? Are they protecting SBF? No, they're actually not. There is a rule starting from 1972 that federal criminal trials, which this is not a civil trial, this is actually a criminal trial, cannot actually be televised. So that rule must be followed. So that's why we can't watch it live. I don't think it's allowed to be streamed live. Obviously, like, there are reports of it, like recordings of it, that can actually be, I think, televised after the fact, but you cannot actually broadcast a federal criminal trial live. That would be against the rules, and that's why you're not really seeing it live streamed or anything. At least I don't think you're supposed to. I don't know if anyone's broken the rules. I wouldn't break the rules because I don't want them coming after my ass. So either way, that's how it's going with Sam Bankman-Fried and Carolyn Ellison. She still loves him. Isn't that so sweet? But she sent him to jail probably for 10 or 15 years. In other news, Brazil wants to indict CZ. CZ and several of his executives for crosshairs for fraud. So from Cointelegraph, but other outlets have actually reported this. There's a congressional committee in the country of Brazil that has recommended CZ and 3 local Binance executives to be indicted for fraud and other criminal financial crimes. So a Brazilian congressional committee has recommended local law enforcement move to indict Binance CEO CZ and 3 other Binance executives. So like there was like a huge report of 500 pages that accused CZ and the local executives for fraud. And besides the 3 executives, they also recommended that they indict an extra 45 people. So they are really coming after Binance. The actual paper is actually in Portuguese, so obviously I can't read it. And they're looking at travel documents and how much they possibly defrauded people. So governments around the world are really trying to go after CZ, and Brazil might be the first to make a serious strike. And I don't really know if this is actually going to work out or not. So they recommended the Federal Public Ministry launch an investigation into all of Binance's Brazil-based operations. So there seems to be a collaborative effort among governments to actually kick Binance out. However, Belgium has actually let Binance back in. I think UK is going to let let Binance back in. So some countries might be lightening a little bit up on Binance, but other countries like Brazil really want his head on a pike, or they just want a bribe from him and get some money from him. So it's actually about derivatives trading. The committee claimed that they told CZ to cease derivatives products from trading, but Binance continued to offer them, which constituted a repeated violation of the market. Obviously, a lot of Binance's profits come from derivatives trading. That's why they didn't want to stop derivatives trading. I'm not a huge fan of derivatives trading, but we'll see how this played out. And of course, Binance said they remain committed into collaborating with the committee and local law enforcement on Brazil. My guess is what's going to happen is they're really just kind of looking for a fine because, they're always looking for that kind of stuff. And I don't think anyone's actually going to jail. CZ's not in Brazil himself. I doubt he's really going to come to Brazil. Binance may or may not get kicked out of Brazil, but if they pay a big enough fine, I think they will actually get off. So they want to indict CZ. They have like this big paper written up. The committee recommends indicting CZ, but I'm pretty sure he can just like pay him off at this point because that's kind of like, other countries are lightening the load on him. And I think like, if he decides to pay a big fine, they'll be fine with that too for a civil penalty. That's my guess. And of course, Jim Cramer has given the famous inverse Cramer signal. What that means is when Jim Cramer says something, you do the exact opposite and you profit. There is actually a reverse Cramer fund and it actually does pretty well. But Jim Cramer does not actually like crypto right now. He thinks that Bitcoin is going for a big dip. Now, no, Bitcoin did dip some today, but I do actually think that is mostly because Bitcoin is afraid of what the Fed CPI is going to be tomorrow. Once the CPI clears up, I think it will actually go back up. But if Jim Cramer says Bitcoin's going to dip, you know that means Bitcoin might just rise very, very soon. And the thing is, like, I think it's good to hedge against Cramer, but realistically, there's also the chance on Friday that we do get an ETF approved. And if we get a big ETF approved, we're definitely going up. So that could be the trigger for the reverse Cramer signal. At most, I wouldn't listen too much to Jim Cramer. Because he's really bad at predicting and he doesn't get a lot of stuff right. So reverse Cramer fun, 10,000 IQ, man. And maybe get some DCA into Bitcoin just in case Jim Cramer is wrong like usual. He does get things right every once in a while, I will give him that, but most of the times he does actually get these things wrong. So remember, reverse Cramer, profit. Not financial advice, of course, but if you've been following statistical analysis of Cramer's predictions, you know they're not that great. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.